No. Okay. Great. I'll call this work session for February 13th, 2023 to order. Time is 6:03 p.m. We're missing Councilmember Smith. He had knee surgery today, so we're not sure if he's going to join us or not. So we'll see if he hops on at any point tonight. First item tonight is Sheridan Housing Authority. So if you are not on open meeting yet, go ahead and get on there and we'll do all our voting through there tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Giselle, do you want to give us an introduction for tonight?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Gisela Escobedo, and I'm here with the Community Language Co-op. And again, thank you for practicing language justice, for your commitment to language justice, for giving an opportunity where people can participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that they feel most comfortable in. That is a language that we practice at home. So to create this space, we're going to be using simultaneous interpretation. When I finish saying this in Spanish, we will turn on interpretation and you will see a globe icon on the bottom of your bar that says interpretation. If you're not fully bilingual, I ask that you select your preferred language. If you're joining today from a phone or a tablet, it has 3 dots that says more. You can click on it and then select your language. Hola, buenas tardes a todas las personas. Mi nombre es Gisela Escobedo y estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative y una vez más gracias a los organizadores de este evento por su compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje. Gracias por crear una oportunidad donde las personas pueden participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, en el idioma que se sienten más cómodo, que es el idioma que practicamos en casa. Para crear este espacio vamos a estar usando la interpretación simultánea. Así que cuando termine de decir esto, vamos a aprender interpretación y usted va a ver un icono de un globo en la barra de abajo de su pantalla que dice interpretación. Si no eres completamente bilingüe, te pido que selecciones tu idioma preferido. Cualquier pregunta, vamos a estar en el chat. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. You can turn on interpretation.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let me get to the right place in my agenda. Okay, we will call to order the Sheridan Housing Authority meeting for February 13th, 2023. The time 6:06 p.m. And we have all board members except for board member Smith. We need to do a roll call on the online here. Or... Okay. Hey, Sally. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have the minutes, presentation and approval of the minutes. I have a motion from board member Kelly and seconded by board member Daigle. Any discussion on the minutes?
Good.
Yes.
We have it changed to board members instead of council members.
Is that in the minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sure they can make that update.
Simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want me to call you board members?
Yes. Thank you, board member Hall.
You're welcome, Chairman.
Okay, can we get a vote on the minutes, please? Motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have the financial report, presentation and approval.
Okay, so we'll start off with the balance sheets for the general fund, and that's basically the savings account for the housing authority. Not much change, got a little bit of interest. That's wonderful. So right now at the end of December, we were sitting at roughly 160,000. I believe we have about 10,000 of that is still earmarked for the help to homes. I can never say the program name right. Another than that, that is just our unrestricted funds. Those are not our HUD funds. Our HUD funds sit in the balance sheets for the properties VOA Shaw _port. Those are just what we call the properties. And as of November, we had about $155,000 sitting in those accounts. Those are our HUD funds that we use to pay the landlords and to run the program. As we talked about kind of several times, HUD gives us money based on what they think we're going to be spending. So we sort of look a little flush right now because we have underspent what HUD projected we would spend. And so we're expecting in the second quarter of this year, the April, May, June, we're not going to get as much money as we've gotten, kind of get it front loaded. They're not going to give us much. They're going to reconcile a little bit. And so that account will kind of balance out a little bit more. There's actually, I think, probably what is one of the best pages that reflects this is this one, the Sheridan Housing Authority HAP equity calculations. If you look at December's, you basically see what we were paid for our HAP payments, for the payments that go to the landlords. We were paid roughly, I thought we were going to spend 176,000 and we spent about 153. So that's kind of, again, that difference. And so they don't take the money back. We hang on to it. They just reconcile at different quarters and different points in the year. And so that'll get reconciled back and we'll get less kind of moving forward. That said, something I'll talk about a little bit later, we are issuing vouchers very rapidly in Sheridan to get back up to the spending levels that we want to see. So it's going to be a little bit of Sheridan, HUD's going to take some money back and then we're going to be in the hole because we're going to go ahead and spend a lot of money and then they're going to give us more money to figure it all out. It's the beauty of the program, but I would much rather see us leasing more vouchers and getting more vouchers on the street and waiting to get the right funding because it always, for the most part, evens out. So while we look flush right now, it's there waiting for us to use. And at some point we will be using it. It's definitely in 2023. I believe we have 15 vouchers out on, well, we say out on the street, which means we've basically handed the people their vouchers, they're out looking. And 15 is a lot for the size of our Sheridan program. So when those folks lease up, we will see the spending kind of go up. Other than that, everything looks good.
We have a motion from Councilmember Stang and second by Councilmember Daigle. Anybody have any other questions on the financials? We get a vote, please. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have the program reports, presentation and approval.
So the program reports reflect the number we have leased up right now. Again, a little bit behind because we report a little bit of lag. So for December, out of the 177 vouchers that we are authorized, we currently had 147 of those vouchers leased up, a little bit low. That put our spending at about 94. The decimals aren't on there, but it's more like 94.5 for the year to date. And we want to be much closer to 100. We also have enough of reserves from HUD to go over 100, not a ton, but we can do like 101, 102. So that's why we are really actively leasing up. Something I've mentioned before is that we had initially in our Section 8 lottery, a preference for folks living or working in Sheridan. Those folks rose to the top. Those are the names we chose first to hand out vouchers to. As I mentioned, many of the folks were unable to demonstrate that they actually lived or worked in Sheridan. And so that was a challenge for us. We basically spent the entire 2022 going through about 250 people who said they lived or worked in Sheridan and then did it. We have now exhausted all those preferences. So the folks that we're pulling from the lottery don't have that preference. And so we're easily able to issue them the voucher because most folks income qualify and background check qualify. So that's where we see that spending is going to come back up, and we've got the 15 on the street because we call it burned through. We burned through the preferences, and that's not a barrier anymore for issuing the vouchers. So while the numbers look a little bit low, kind of wrapping up the year, it's January is going full force.
Okay. We had a motion from Board Member Hall and seconded by Board Member Kelly. Any questions or discussions on the program reports?
Just real quick. So you've got 140 vouchers out there being used, plus
Yep.
15 more that haven't been cashed.
Yes,
Right.
they're out looking, so we'll add them to the total pretty
Good.
soon.
All right.
And we're still issuing a few more. We, like I said, need to watch the numbers, need to watch the spending, need to make sure we have a couple for bonsai in about a year and a half. But we definitely have the room to do those 15 plus a handful more. The other thing too is we've increased the amount we're spending per voucher. We approved that resolution a couple months ago. It's called the payment standard. And as we talked about, rents are going up. So it's that balance too, where we've got the 15 out, we've got more to spend, but we need to carefully watch that. And from that 15, maybe go up by 1 or 2 kind of increments if we need to, because the spending is going to be high. We're paying more our per unit cost. The PUC is going up in 2023.
So that was kind of gonna be my question. How many will we have available for bonsai, and will we be able to get more if we need?
So we have 5 earmarked for bonsai now. Josh and I have had conversations about if that's the right number, if we need more. We need to go through a bit of the process to get that approved by HUD. And so when it comes closer to when they're leasing up and the project is done, we can have some final conversations. What we'll probably do when it gets close to that time is we'll just let people, we'll look at attrition and we'll let people naturally drop out of vouchers to make sure we have at least those 5 earmarked. If the conversation is that they need more or want more, or we think it's a great idea to project base more, we'll just have those conversations. It's going to be about a year till everything is signed on the dotted line with HUD to approve those 5 project-based vouchers.
And then my other question was, so affordable housing looks at bedroom sizes. But
Yep.
y'all don't. Why?
We look at bedroom size.
Well,
So not in these formulations, right? But if you think about the per unit cost, the larger the unit, for the most part, the more expensive it is, the more we pay. It also depends too on how much people are working, right? They pay 30 to 40% of their income on rent and utilities. If folks are working and we encourage work, we've got our self-sufficiency program, we might pay less per unit. But we have, I think the largest voucher we currently have like leased up is a 4-bedroom. No, because like the voucher can be any size. It's based on the family dynamics. And it's okay if you don't, it's not your job. I'm here to remind you every other month. It is so much.
Any other questions? Let's have a vote on the program reports then. The vote is unanimous for. All right, next we have managers report, presentation and approval.
So as I mentioned, we're always working to maximize the voucher utilization. We've got the 15 families that are out searching for units right now. Some of those got their voucher end of December, some got them in January. We actually did a big briefing last week. That's the first step in getting your voucher. And so those folks will start leasing up here pretty soon. Our average lease up is about 60 days. So we'll see those numbers hitting a little bit next month. One of the things we're going to talk about today is resolution 1. It is the approval of the CMAP. And so I'll save a little bit for the CMAP discussion. Also, what I'll say for the new discussion is a draft of a scope of work that we can add to the service agreement. We've been talking about updating our service agreement. And one of the pieces that we are missing from that original 2001 service agreement is the scope of work. It actually is what are we going to do? When you say go ahead and run the program, what does that look like? So I actually found, I think, a really great template for us to build our scope of work. So we have that to talk about in the new business. Great news about our grant with the Sheridan School District. We officially got that renewed. We weren't concerned about it because we were told it was going to be renewed, but we did have to put in an application. We did have to talk a bit about our budget and how we were going to spend and everything. And that was due like 2 days after Christmas. But it was fine. It all worked out wonderfully. We got everything approved. We are bringing Inglewood Schools on as a second partner. We're very excited about that. It's another $300,000 over 2 years. based on our financial estimates of what it costs to run the program, because we do pay for some staffing with the program, but 2/3 of the grant goes directly to helping families. We anticipate helping about 22 families every single year. That is going to start on April 1st. So we are kind of starting the process of winding down this last grant and making sure we can spend as much as possible of this last grant cycle. We have about 60,000 left. So we are working hard to spend that last money to help the families that are currently in our pipeline. And then we're going to meet next month with the different McKinney-Vento folks from Inglewood to start the process of how is this going to look moving forward with another partner on. But we're excited about it. The state is excited about it. And it's always nice when you've got somebody who's funded by a grant to know that that money is signed, sealed, and delivered, basically. So good news on that front. We had a new housing technician who started beginning of January. She is handling the entire Sheridan caseload. She's fantastic. We're super excited to have her. The tenants that she has worked with so far are more than thrilled with her. So we're thinking it's a really good fit. She actually came to me about 2 weeks in and she's like, I didn't know I loved Section 8 and housing. I'm like, that's the right answer. Awesome. So we're really excited about her and her general interest in more than just the Section 8 program. She's really invested in knowing more about housing and affordable housing. And I think those are always great fits for us as employees because we are so small. We have 18 now that we're fully staffed. We wear a lot of different hats and participate in a lot of different conversations that might not be just your program. So I find it really refreshing to have somebody who wants to learn more about the whole housing authority and maybe think about, promotion in the future. But right now, wonderful to run the program. So that's great news. We did schedule our yearly financial audit and our Section 8 audit. That is going to be February 27th through March 17th. So 3 weeks of audit fun coming up soon.
Congratulations on the grant. That's great.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful little program to run and seeing the impact on the families. And I think I mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. The first pot of money was federal money that was passed through to the state for us to do this grant. This next pot of money is state funds. There's less restrictions. We can help undocumented families. And so we're super excited about that because we've had to turn away some families who were not documented. So it's going to be an even more exciting, I think, grant cycle for us.
Like I have a motion from Board Member Kelly and a second from Board Member Whitaker. Any other discussion on the manager's report? Vote then. Motion is approved unanimously. So next we have new business, resolution number 1, series of 2023, resolution approving submission of HUD form 52648 CMAP certification.
So we have not done CMAP in quite some time. CMAP is the Section 8 Management Assessment Program. Did I say that right? Yes. It's basically HUD's way of kind of doing a little audit of the way the Section 8 programs are ran. In 2020 and 2021, this assessment was waived. It was one of the COVID waivers that HUD put in place, knowing that programs were struggling with a variety of aspects. So we were able to carry over the last score we got, which was for fiscal year 19 and carried over through 20 and 21. So now all of those pandemic waivers have gone away. We now need to do the certification for 2022. So I think a lot of folks haven't heard us really talk about it because we've skipped it for the past 2 years. And for a housing authority the size of Sheridan, we do only have to submit every other year. But if we get a score that's less than high performer is the best rating, we will always try to strive to be high performer and then skip a year. We don't slack. If we only end up as a standard performer this year, which is one of the things I want to chat about, we would definitely shoot for high performer next year and not take the skip that we could take because of size. So this year I do think we'll be a standard performer. And I think it has to do with our spending. We're going to be lower than 98%. And we'll lose a few points. So the CMAP, and I have included the form in the packet. There are the 13 indicators. The 14th indicator for us does not count. We have an FSS program, but ours is not a mandatory program. Ours is a voluntary program. So we're rated on these 13 different indicators. Some points are all or nothing. Some are you get 5, you get 10, or you get 20, depending what it is. We anticipate getting full points on everything except for the lease up indicator. I believe we'll end up between 95 and 98%, which gets us, I think it's 15 points out of the 20, or it's 10 points out of the 20. Either way, you have to be at 90% to be a high performer. And I think we're going to end up somewhere in the 80s because we'll lose the points. That said, it's not totally unexpected and it's not bad. I just like to be a high performer. So it's not great, right? So again, we will shoot to be a high performer in 2023. So we'll do the rating again next February, but everything else in terms of the ratings is looking good. We hire an independent consultant. She's actually just called a CMAP consultant, and she comes in and does the sampling and the file reviews to do the ratings for us. So it is kind of this neutral third party who comes in and rates it for us. And she comes every month. And so in the beginning of the year, she always will bring up if she sees any issues. It gives us time to correct them. And again, she's very confident in 2023, everything's going to be perfect, especially with the spending, because we are leasing out more and spending more dollars. But this year, it's probably going to end up standard. We do a lot of what are called prior period adjustments. So we go back to prior periods, and I've actually done worked with our new tech to do a bunch to go back to actually like October, November, December. But we don't have enough prior period adjustments. We shouldn't at this point to make us bump up to that 98%. So I believe we'll sit at 95% and get the standard and lose the points for not being at 98%. But again, everything else looks good.
Great. We have a motion from Board Member Whitaker and a second from Board Member Hall. Anybody have any questions on the resolution number 1? Let's vote on it then. That motion is approved unanimously. The next we have review elements for new scope of work from Division of Housing's RFQ, and your pages and sections cited here.
Right, it's kind of long and it's not super long, but I know you guys have to read the whole thing. So I shouldn't say every year, every once in a while, Division of Housing puts out a request for qualifications for different agencies throughout the state to administer housing choice vouchers. We don't do that anymore for a variety of reasons, but in their newest request for qualifications that came out at the end of 2022, they have what I think is actually a really lovely scope of work that I think we can build off of to create our scope of work, to have something to refer back to. And again, that starts on their page 6. You know what I like everything about it. Some of the things obviously we would change. They talk about a little bit in like section 5. When you administer DOH vouchers, you have to give them all the paperwork. I would take that out. I assume you guys don't want all of the paperwork for every voucher holder, right? But we would focus on some of the other higher level things here. You know, we'll do preparing all the documents, do all the interims, do all the annuals, do all the HQSs. I would like to put a section in here about, you know, in the evaluation section, shooting for like high performer every year, things like that, that you guys, I think, would hold us more accountable to versus meeting sort of like time deadlines of giving you paperwork by the 20th of every month, right? So a couple of things don't apply. But it also talks about, you know, this administrative requirement in terms of the expenses. I think it's important to outline that we pay for everything. We're paid from Sheridan Housing Authority through the administrative costs that HUD pays to the voucher program. And that's, you know, it's our job to take that money and spend it prudently, to think about staffing, making sure we can pay for all the HQS inspections. And so I like that piece of there. We also do, you know, our financial audit, we report that back to you. I think that's important to keep in the scope of work. Again, it's really just taking out some of that reporting to you of the tenant level data, because you don't need that. That's not, I mean, you can decide you want some. I don't think you want to get into the weeds with that. And I think, again, by using a CMAP consultant who reviews our work, by having different other kind of compliance processes built in, we do that ourselves. We could rewrite some of that in. I just thought it was a good template. It's like, instead of reinventing the wheel, this is something we can use and we can tweak a little bit. My goal is to rewrite the entire service agreement because we just have it in like a scanned PDF form. So it needs to be retyped, it needs to be rewritten. do the scope of work. And then when it comes time, I think in December, we need to re-up the service agreement. We'll have a nice kind of brand new full service agreement with exhibits that exist and a nice scope of work that we can all sign off on to either do another 2 years, 3 years, maybe more, maybe less. But we'll have something to work off of that's current to what we are actually doing for you guys for running the program.
That
Sounds-
sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
So my
excellent.
thought for the next meeting is I take what's in here, take the points that I think are relevant, and actually type something up for us, right?
Mhm.
And start having drafts of those, of that service agreement and the scope of work to look at. So then come December, we're voting, or November, voting in on a finalized document. And that
Great.
sounds far away, but it'll be next week.
Yep. Sure. Great. Well, thank you. Sounds like a lot of work, so I appreciate you taking that on.
It's nice not to reinvent the wheel. So finding
Yeah.
this was really nice because I was thinking of different points to put in. And this helped me think about, okay, this is what works really well.
Mhm.
And the DOH, to me, they have a really fantastic Section 8 program. And Catherine Helgerson, who runs their program, I often ask her questions because I consider her a Section 8 expert.
Mhm.
So I think the things they produce, I feel really confident borrowing to
Mhm.
create new documents from.
Okay. Is there any other feedback you want on that right now, or?
It depends. If you guys have feedback now, great. If you wanted to look it over and, shoot me an email or something, that's fine too. We can look at it again next month and you guys can give some feedback, or April.
Yeah. I don't have anything at the moment, but
I don't know.
sounds good. At least we'll be making some
Progress.
progress. Okay, so we don't have anything to vote on in that one. Do you need anything
No.
else from us?
Nope, just signatures from you.
Okay. And we will adjourn the Housing Authority meeting at 6:30 PM and go back to our regular work session.
I think that's a time record.
We didn't even get told to slow down, so it's pretty good. Thank you so much. Okay. Next up tonight, we are talking about the bonsai economic agreement.
Sorry, yes, Mayor.
Okay.
And what I want to do is get everybody to the correct place in your packet. So if you go to your regular council meeting packet and go to that resolution where we're approving that that agreement for the bonsai redevelopment project. And it is, so is it resolution 7? Let me get there, 8. Sorry, I got to get there on my computer. One sec. Okay. So when you get there, it starts off with a memo from Andrew. And I'm going to have Andrew and Josh speak to this in a little bit, but and they can cover everything that I forget as we go along here. But I want to walk us through the document itself. This is a new format for us, and just want to make sure that council understands the document and everything that we're talking about in there. So if we go into the document itself, that's page 30 in your packet. And we page down, my computer to work here again. To Exhibit A, Economic Incentives Agreement. We can go past the definitions and get into some of the incentives themselves, which is in section 2, beginning on page 33. So to take a quick step back, what this is an incentive package for the bonsai redevelopment project. That project, and Josh and Andrew will speak to that in a little bit, is an affordable housing project based over here just off a federal property that was the old bonsai nursery property. The developer is Medici, and they are going to be the owners and developers of that property. And we negotiated with the staff level with this agreement and bring it to council tonight for your review and consideration. So getting into the incentives, there are different kinds of incentives that a city can do when they're talking about this kind of a project. And primarily, what we look at doing here for our agreement is a number of fee waivers and also some tax reimbursements. Now, what we can do on an administrative and as a council level, you can waive fees, right? So we have fees that are mentioned in here, planning and engineering review fees. We have building permit fees. We have, those are the two main ones that we have in here. And then we also will have a reimbursement of our use tax in there. Now, you can't waive taxes, right? So you can't come in and say, oh, well, you just won't have to pay that use tax. No, anybody who comes in to our city and builds something has to pay the use tax. If they have a business that's selling something, they have to pay the sales tax. What cities can do is negotiate an agreement whereas they refund or rebate or reimburse parts or all of those monies that they've received. The great thing about waiving fees and doing reimbursement of taxes is that it's nothing out of pocket to any of the taxpayers in Sheridan, right? So we're not having to dip into our budgeted funds and have to write a check to the developer for these incentives. This is all money that would be coming in only because of the project. The tax monies that they'll be reimbursed are tax monies that they're paying and then getting back. It's not tax monies or anything that we already hold as a city. And the fees are fees that they would have just paid out of their own pocket and not us. So we're not paying, again, we're not writing a check to anybody other than for the reimbursement of the sales of the use tax when that comes due. So that's a real important thing to know is that we're working with them to try and make this project work, to fill gaps in their financial plan. And these are some of the tools that we can use to do it. And we do it such that it doesn't have an impact to the current taxpayer. So no taxpayer in Sheridan is paying out of pocket for any of this agreement. So we'll talk a little bit about what the various aspects of this are. So the fees, to get specific again, we have planning and engineering review fees. That's when Andrew and his staff takes a look at the proposals that come in to the community development department. They charge fees to review and provide comments back to applicants as part of the development review process. In this case, we're looking at waiving that fee that would have been estimated at $8,500 for this project. And we're looking at basically review fees for the projects for the site plan and the final plat applications. We've already done the final plat application. You remember, council, we did that one of your previous meetings. The next fee that we're looking at waiving would be the building permit fees. This is, let me see, make sure I read the right thing here. This would be the building permits for their 4 buildings, buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a community center that will be part of the site plan. And then based on the estimate of the project at this point, that fee, those fees would have been $151,397.90. So just a little bit over $151,000 for those fees will be waived. The next item that we're looking at working with them on is the Excel Energy 1% Fund. This is a nice example of a benefit that the city can help out with. As part of the project, the developer is going to be looking at undergrounding some overhead power lines. And as part of the city's franchise agreement with Excel Energy, they have what is called in our franchise agreement with them, that we have a 1% fund is what you'll mainly hear it called. What that is that Excel will take 1% of the franchise fees that they'd be paying to the city, and they escrow those into a special fund that's to be used as matching funds for any undergrounding projects. So power line undergrounding projects that you might have. We're looking at part of this or tapping into our fund for that to help them out with undergrounding, and that would be in the amount of $329,123. And again, this is a great opportunity to help take an expense off of their their plate on this. We had no other anticipated needs for these undergrounding funds at this time. It's amazing how it sounds like a lot of money, over $300,000. That will barely do their section of the their properties that they're looking at. So it doesn't do very much, right? This money doesn't go as far as you would hope it would go, is what I'm trying to say. You can't underground the whole city with this. You can do very generally relatively small projects. And so that money escrows and builds up over time, and then we can look at considering using that for various projects as they come along. And this is an excellent opportunity to be able to use that. And then we have also a fee waiver. The next one in the agreement is looking at any future funding. So the maximum fee waiver incentive, or I'm sorry, this would be the total aggregate amount of the fee waivers that may accrue. So everything that we talked about on that on fee waivers itself would be $159,897, almost $160,000 in fees that we want to waive for the project. And then if you go down to 2.5, which is the next portion in here, that's the main part of what we're looking at for the reimbursement here would be the use tax reimbursement. And this, again, I said, we can't waive taxes. We have to make sure the taxes get submitted, collected, and then based on those, then they can come in and apply for a reimbursement for taxes that have been paid towards this project. That's going to be, that's set at a maximum amount of $534,317 and change. So a little over $500,000. It's the biggest part of this agreement would be the use tax incentive. We'll go down a little bit more, a few things else that I want to point out about this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew and Josh, and they can talk about, again, anything else that I missed, or I know they have some additional information that they want to make the council aware of. We have some timelines. So if you keep paging down in your packet, 3.2 talks about when the project needs to be started, which is April 30th, 2023, coming up just here shortly. And then the completion of the project has to be, is anticipated at December 31st, 2024. Okay. So that sets the time frame of the projects. Now get into 3.4 and 3.5, we start talking about some of the affordability requirements. If we're going to waive all these fees and rebate these taxes, we want to make sure that the project is what the developer says the project is going to be and what we're approving. So it sets out what are the affordability requirements. And you've heard us talk about this on this project several times. We're looking at, 100% of the project of the 149 units there would be affordable. And this lays out the requirements that they would be between 30 and 60% of the area median income. Okay. It goes into operational requirements that says that not only shall it be operated at those affordability levels, it has to be that way for 15 years. Okay. If for any reason that the project were to say be sold or is no longer operated as an affordable project, then this long section of 3.5 and 3.5, 2, 3, 4, it goes into there. It's basically a prorated schedule of the fees and taxes that are part of this incentive agreement would have to be returned to the city if it is not operated as they say they're going to operate it, which we don't anticipate at all. But when we're guaranteeing these kind of monies with fee waivers and especially with tax reimbursement, we want to make sure that we are safeguarding the taxpayers' money on this. So that's what all of these things are saying in Mount Eagle. You go through all of this breakdown for like 2 pages that goes into what amount of monies would come back to the city if it does not complete the 15 years as an affordable project. Did you have a question, Sally?
No.
Okay.
I think it got it.
Okay.
Because I think it's fair.
Okay.
It's
I
15
do.
years, and then anything after that, whatever can happen. If it's not, whatever.
Correct. So the guarantee, and this is fairly standard types of, yes. Yeah. And so this is fairly standard types of requirements that we'll have around affordability or affordable housing projects. You don't want to make it, you can't really make it in perpetuity. but you can guarantee it for certainly a decent amount of time. Let me see if there's, I'm sorry? I don't think this necessarily, Josh can maybe speak to this, or Andrew, I don't think it's necessarily standard, but I've seen 10 years, 12 years, 15, 20, things along those lines like that. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else I really wanted to point out in this before I turn over to you guys. It goes on about they can sell the property, however, it needs to be maintained as an affordable project if they do sell it, and lines out those kind of things. And a lot of the rest of this goes into just boilerplate of the agreement itself, setting out some of the liabilities around that. Exhibit B, if you page on down and get to Exhibit B, there will be some affordability covenants that outline what the requirements of the property will be. And this gets filed with the county and runs with the property, just like any other property covenant. Probably of interest to the council in here as you go down, and item number 6 of that covenant spells out the occupancy restrictions. And we're looking at this time, would be calling for 75 1-bedroom units, 65 2-bedroom units, 9 3-bedroom units, for a total of 149 units. And again, all of those equal to or less than 60% of area median income. And I think Andrew's going to talk about, okay, when we talk about 60-30% AMI, what does that mean actually? And so we've got some numbers that council can hear about that. And to give them time to do it, I think I'm going to shoot through here. I think I covered all the main parts that I wanted to in the actual document itself. Did council have any questions about the document before I turn it over to Josh and Andrew? Yes.
Is it possible to put it on these screens too, so everyone can see what we're talking about?
We can try. It's a fairly large document. What part did you want to have on there?
I don't know.
Because
just
we
a
wouldn't be
page.
able to do much more than a
Maybe
page,
this
or
little-
even that would be legible.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
just whichever pages we're talking about.
Maybe page 48 of our packet.
Okay. We'll see if we can get that up there. In the meantime, I think I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, Josh, whichever one of you guys wanted to go first, and or if you did.
All right, well, good evening, council. I don't have much to add to what Devin was reviewing in terms of the agreement. The only other thing I would say on kind of like the period of affordability of the 15 years, I think you see a lot of those that are kind of proportional to what the city's actually paying into it. So, you know, it's a little over $1 million, all said and done, but it is a $25 million project. So it is a fairly small percentage of what the city's contributing toward the overall project. So we felt that 15 years kind of made sense on that front. You know, you might see with other cities, if they're doing loans or things that are in the millions, like multiple millions of dollars, they might want to have a longer period that it's to be affordable. The other thing I would say is, you know, it's not to say that after 15 years, we couldn't extend that or renegotiate things. I think we've seen with some of our affordable projects in Sheridan, specifically like the Sheridan Gardens apartments, you know, I think they got their light tech credits back in the early 2000s. And after about 15 years, you need to do some renovations to a property. So they had to come in with a pretty sizable renovation permit. And, you know, that's kind of the time they could negotiate. You know, again, if we want to waive those fees for additional work to the property, what would that agreement look like and how long would we extend it for? So it's always subject to negotiation in the future, but we felt that was appropriate kind of for where we're at today. Not too much to add beyond that. Josh did provide a chart of current AMIs, area median incomes, and rents that are considered affordable for Arapahoe County. So that's what will be used for this project. So I think what was provided was for 2022. And I'm sure there's a 2023 chart out there as well, but it just kind of gives you an idea of, you know, what somebody would be making, what a household would be making if they lived in this development, and then what they would be paying in rent. So those are all set requirements that they're not able to go over. So typically, they could probably charge less than that, but this is what you would expect to see. Happy to answer any questions or turn it over to Josh. Yes.
This seems like a great deal.
Mhm.
What are some of the benefits for Sheridan on this whole thing? City of Sheridan, the community itself, businesses.
Well, as we all know, affordable housing is in short supply in the Metro Denver region. When you look at the studies, it's really where it's really in most short supply is the 30 to 60% AMIs. So if you see a lot of these projects in Denver right now, they're really looking at 60% and up, just because it's more expensive like sub-market to build in if you're trying to build this in like Lodo or somewhere in central Denver. So they are charging 60%, 80%, sometimes even up to 120%. So higher AMIs, so it's less affordable. So I think it's really great that our project is capped at the 60% AMI. So we're pretty excited about that. I also, just did some like, napkin sketch kind of math here about kind of what does this subsidy work out to, on a per unit per year basis for 15 years. And I want to say I came up with like around $450 of a city subsidy per unit per year. You can't build housing for that. So it's a really great deal for us to say, we contributed that much and we're getting 149 units within those AMI ranges for 15 years. It's pretty, pretty well unheard of to spend that little money toward affordable housing and have that kind of impact. So I think that's really, when I did the calculations, what really surprised me and made it look like a really attractive offer. Great question. Thanks. Thank you.
And we should also point out that we're not the only governmental entity. So the county is also bringing some money to the table. They've committed some ARPA dollars that they've set aside in a bucket for affordable and attainable housing. And so that is there is an amount that's being brought to the financial stack for this project from them as well. So, it shows a great commitment on behalf of the city of Sheridan, as well as the county, in the importance of this kind of a project that for our area, for our county, for our area, for our city, and really the whole metro area is sorely in need of this level and this type of housing.
Yeah, there have been a lot of partnerships on this project. I think, as you've heard from the Housing Authority, from the city, really going all the way back to the former property owner who made the decision to sell this property to an affordable housing developer. I think, they could have probably got more money with other land uses over there, but it was something that was important to them. So I think we really just wanted to, show our commitment and participation as well.
And I think it also shows a commitment to the previous ownership of the property. Remember, so there's that whole story that they have, and they wanted something that with a family owned business and been run on that property for all those years. And they wanted something, positive and productive to come out as part of their legacy of being there and passing that on and trying to do something positive for the community. And this helps them to realize that.
There's nothing else. I can turn it over to Josh to talk a little bit about the project some more.
Sounds good.
All housing work session this evening.
Yeah.
Right under Phil. Well, first off, I'm Josh Russell. I'm one of the partners of Medici Development. We're the developer of this project. And we're excited to be here this evening. Obviously, we've rezoned the site. It does the plattings for the real estate work. And so maybe our first opportunity to talk about what the project's going to be doing and who we'll be serving. So, and obviously have any questions you might have, I'm happy to answer. As I was sitting there listening to the conversation, I'd make two quick points right out of the gates. The first is that the project will be affordable for at a minimum of 40 years. So even though your agreement is only for 15, there are analogous agreements with a number of the other funders that Devin just alluded to that extend beyond that period of time and will preserve the affordability that was described earlier. And then the second one was to your question, Ron. So, what was the community benefit? And, it's hard, right? There's a lot to it. And one of the things I would point out is that that chart that was included in your packet really what it's doing is taking a third of somebody's income and saying that's an appropriate amount of your income to spend on housing. So you have 2/3 left for everything else you might be spending on your, money on. And for the community, a lot of time that what they can mean is that there's more disposable income for 150 households or 49 that are living here to spend at businesses and elsewhere, or just take care of their families and healthcare or education. And which leads into a second point in terms of community benefits, which is a lot of we see in these projects that we have a turnover rate of about 10% or so a year. If you look at market rate housing, that number is probably closer to 50%. And so you end up seeing is just a lot more stability in a rental project. There's just people are living there for longer periods of time than a comparable market rate project. And so I think that we're going to have members of the community that are living here for significant periods of time, and that have financial stability while they're living here, can contribute to businesses and everything else and take care of their families at the same time. So I think that was a great question. I wanted just to add a few things to Andrew's answer as well. The other part is that the other support we've received has been tremendous. And so really appreciate your support. The county has come to the table with a significant contribution. The state of Colorado, we've received tax credits from the state as well as from the federal government. And then we're going and getting a mortgage as well. So it's a very complicated kind of capital stack, but your participation is really tremendously valuable. And it's also one of those things that when I'm out there talking to a state agency, I can say, hey, we have the city, not the biggest city, and they're contributing to it. I mean, it really helps me do my job as I'm out there trying to raise money, at a state agency. So it's been tremendously valuable just for the money itself, but also for what it's allowed us to do as we pull together this pretty sizable amount of money to build the project. So we can't say thank you enough. We might be limited on time. I'm so happy to take any questions if any folks have any.
We have about 5 minutes if council has any questions of Josh or staff or about the document, anything along those lines.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for those.
We'll be out there for 18 months, so you can swap by.
We could stop by and ask more questions.
Ask us questions if one comes up to you later. So. Well, from a timing standpoint, though, we do hope to close maybe even this week. We've been working through one last agreement with the county, and I think we're there. We've been, as I'm sure everybody's noticed, been doing some kind of clearing the site, but hopefully we'll get the guys out there in March and start to do some of the work and get that line undergrounded. And so you'll be seeing a lot of activity. And the first building would come online in about a year, and then they kind of get staggered. And so between about 12 and 18 months would be the overall time frame for leasing it up.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's a great project.
Yeah.
Well,
It
thank you.
really is.
And I would mention too, Lindsay's been another partner of ours. I left her out. She's participating in the project and
Yeah.
she's been a big partner.
Mhm.
And a lot of those vouchers that are out in the marketplace, I would note, are great value for her program because these rents are lower than what she would be paying on the market.
Yes.
So if you actually get more vouchers out into the community, and we end up seeing like 10 to probably 20% of these units will be held by voucher holders once things get stabilized. And so that would be in addition to the 5 she mentioned.
That makes sense,
Yeah, there'll absolutely be a number of voucher holders. So the affordability mix that we talked about earlier is a little misleading. We're going to end up serving probably another 24 folks at that 30% level because they'll be moving in here.
Right.
And it really helps Lindsay as well because she could, those dollars go further when they're in a tax credit. So,
And more properties to put people in. I mean, they just have trouble finding places that want to take Section 8. So
yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you again.
thank you for all those answers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really great project.
We just got 3 minutes. Do we want to just have a quick break before we start our regular meeting?
I think
Yes.
that'd be great, Mayor. Thank you.
So we'll adjourn this work session at 6:57. Let's plan to start by 7:02.
Miss Gisela, are you there? Can you give another introduction for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, my name is Gisela and I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. And one more time, thank you for practicing language justice. Thank you for giving the people to participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that they feel most comfortable in. Once we turn on interpretation, you will see a globe icon on the bottom of your bar that says interpretation. If you're not fully bilingual, I ask that you select your preferred language, if it's English or Spanish. And if you're joining us today from a phone or a tablet, it has 3 dots on the bottom of your bar that says more. You can click on it and then select your language. If you're going to be presenting or facilitating, please be aware of your speed, knowing that Spanish takes 20 to 25% longer than English. Hola a todas las personas, mi nombre es Gisela Escobedo y estoy aquí con la Community Language Coop y quiero darle las gracias a los organizadores de este evento por su compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje. Gracias por dar una oportunidad donde las personas pueden involucrarse y participar en el idioma de su corazón. Una vez que aprendan interpretación, usted va a ver un icono de un globo en la barra debajo de su pantalla que dice interpretación. Si no eres completamente bilingüe, te pido que selecciones tu idioma preferido. Si estás hoy con nosotros desde un teléfono o una tableta, vienen 3 puntitos abajo que dice más o more. Le das un clic ahí y después seleccionas tu idioma. Cualquier pregunta, estamos en el chat. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and turn on interpretation.
Thank you. I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council for February 13th, 2023. The time is 7:04 p.m. Can we have roll call, please? Thank you. We have all members present except for Councilmember Smith. Can I get a motion to excuse Councilmember Smith's absence? Motion made by Councilmember Whitaker and seconded by Councilmember Hall. Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Next tonight, we have the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Have a good one. It's a Valentine's Day prayer for true love. Dear God, help me today to understand what love really means. I need a love that's big enough to include all of us. Big enough for the dating and engaged couples, of course, with their giddy daydreams of a future together, but also big enough for the married folks, whether their passion for each other is still blazing brightly or barely more than a smoldering wick. Big enough for the singles toasting their independence and for the singles wishing someone would come along and make that independence disappear. For the lonely and widowed and brokenhearted, I need a love that understands, a love that welcomes in hurt and sorrow instead of excluding them. The love I need more than anything is your love. Without your love, no other love will ever be sufficient. And with it, every other love becomes richer and truer and more life-giving than it could be. We have learned all our best loves from you. The love of faithful friends, of spouses, of significant others, of parents and siblings and children. Love that commits, love that sacrifices, love that lays down its life. You authored each of these loves, taught us how to recognize them and long for them and give them away. Our best efforts at Valentine's Day are just a fraction of the wholeness of love. Today, let everything I see remind me of your love. Let today be a day for love, real love, big love, your love. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any changes to our agenda?
No changes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we'll have staff reports. What do you have for us, City Clerk?
No report, Madam Mayor.
All right. City manager. Oh, city attorney. Sorry, do we have any updates from our attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have any updates from our office this evening.
Thank you. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some updates I wanted to make the council aware of. First, I start off with a reminder to please complete the sustainability survey that our sustainability coordinator Mel sent to everybody. So if you haven't completed that yet, it was emailed out to you and she's done a couple of reminders. So you should be able to find the link. It takes 5 minutes maybe to do it. So please do that. I know that she wanted to try and collect all of those by the Thursday, I think, of this week. So if you could, please do that. A reminder that City Hall will be closed next Monday, the 20th, in observance of President's Day. I'll do that one. I'm gonna do this one last. Wanted to give the council an update on the Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Group work. We had a meeting the other day, and Mary, you can tell me if I forget anything, but just wanted to touch on some of the main issues that we discussed for that meeting. We had a discussion about the Navigation Center, IGA. So this is, again, for people who might have a question, is an intergovernmental agreement that will be between the Tri-Cities cities, which is Inglewood, Sheridan, and Littleton, regarding the implementation of a navigation center for people that are experiencing homelessness. We are working on that IGA right now and looking at putting together a group to review the RFP that goes out. The group itself, the Homelessness Policy Committee, made a motion and voted to recommend that the cities agree to bring the IGA forward, and that was going to be brought forward through Littleton's process. And that's what the IGA will say as well, is that we agree to use Littleton's process. You know, when you have 3 cities or and others that are collaborating on a project like that, and you're going through and trying to do an RFP, you have to pick somebody's process to use. You can't use all 3 or you'll never, ever get done. So we're going to be using Littleton's process to do that. We got an update from South Metro Fire with regards to some of the efforts that they're making around homelessness. They're seeing gaps in resource navigation, and so they're looking at rebranding a division within South Metro as a public health division. And what they have done, if they secured a grant to hire a licensed clinical social worker, and they're also working on getting a community paramedic program put together. So it'll be somewhat similar to our co-responder program that we have with All Health. And I'm touching on all kinds of things that are on your agenda here in a later, right? We have our a new contract renewal with All Health for our co-responder program, as well as our, I mentioned earlier, Mel, we have our IGA with Inglewood for her services on the agenda tonight as well. Anyway, so those efforts are moving along well with regards to the navigation center. What else did we discuss on that? Let me find the agenda. The county is looking together at putting a new grant program together, and this would be using some of their ARPA monies to augment the HOME program. HOME is a funding program that comes through federal monies that come through the county for the administration of affordable housing and things along those lines that can support affordability. So they just gave us a quick briefing on what that potentially might look like, but they're still got, I think they got quite a bit of work, but it's something for us to keep an eye on to see if that's something that Sheridan might be able to take advantage of. And then we got an update. Oh, hold on, let me see what else I want to talk about here. Yeah, we got an update, and I'll hand this to council. Speak loud. This is our Tri-Cities Homelessness Action Plan status update. So this is Mike Sandring, our Tri-Cities coordinator for homelessness. This is the report he puts together that has the status updates as far as the action plan that has been adopted by the 3 cities. And I'm gonna go through bit by each one. It's pretty long. It's broken down into 3 years. But we are currently, look towards the back, there's a progress update. We're about 33% completed on the plan itself. About 53% of the items are in progress right now, and 14% still need to be planned and moved forward. So we're making great progress on those efforts. And then the last bit I wanted to share on there, we got an update from Mike, is that, we have been participating with MDHI and their metro-wide efforts as far as looking at their Built for Zero program. So if you remember us talking about Built for Zero, it's a regional effort for the metro area to focus on ending homelessness for vets. And they are seeing really good success on that right now and been able to move pretty good on their form. So they're not yet, but they're talking about what expansion might look like, and if they expand that program beyond having Built for Zero for vets. And that was always a plan, was to be able to expand Built for Zero out, to be able to help much more people besides vets that are experiencing homelessness. But then we wanted to start with the veteran populations and get some momentum going and work on that. And I think they're seeing the opportunity to be able to start expanding those efforts to help for other people besides vets that are experiencing homelessness. So that's good news that that effort is also showing good progress and looking at expansion. I think that's it. Mayor, did you have anything else on that? Because our mayor chairs that group.
No, I was also encouraged to find out that our local case conferencing seemed like they said they had the capacity to move beyond just assisting vets right now. So
Right.
it shouldn't be too long, I wouldn't think, till they move on.
Right. Let's see, just a couple more things. Just my schedule coming up, a lot of things that are in the works right now. I'm going to the CML legislative workshop later this week on Thursday. So that'll be an excellent briefing for us that they do each year once the legislative session gets going, and they look at once some bills have been introduced and what are the local government focus areas and what do we need to be aware of, what do we need to talk to our local legislators about. And so it's a day-long session that CML puts on. I'll be attending that on our behalf. I'm also going to be attending the County Homelessness Coordinating Committee Executive Leadership Meeting. This is the county's efforts at putting together a plan like the Tri-Cities have done with regards to homelessness and people experiencing homelessness. So it's great to see that the county, they're making efforts to progress on this as well. And we want to make sure we're supporting them in that. And so I'll be attending their meetings on that, on their executive leadership committee. And then I'll also be attending the Region 9 Opioid Council meetings. This is ongoing for the administration of the opioid settlement monies that have come into the state of Colorado, millions upon millions and millions of dollars that have come in on opioid settlements and will be distributed through these processes that have been set up with opioid councils across the metro area. We participate, Sheridan participates in this, and currently that effort, and I don't have it right in front of me to see if I remember, but there's 7 focus areas that the opioid council is working on right now. I volunteered to sit in on the co-responder. So they're looking at putting some money towards the co-responder programs, which would be fantastic. Help support our efforts in that as well as others, and be able to expand those efforts as well. So it's a busy week, which is good. The last thing I wanted to mention, 2 things, and I'm really happy to talk about this. First off, Reagan Ivanov has been promoted. We've promoted Reagan from his position as the permit tech to the new accounts payable business license administrator. So it's a
Awesome.
nice step up for Reagan, and
Congratulations.
we're glad that, yep. It'll be great. So we have to fill his shoes now. So we're currently recruiting for that, but it's nice that we get to keep Reagan right there so he can help out. And you were already cross-trained on that. So that's fantastic. The other one is that Andrew has been promoted to Community Development Director for the city of Sheridan.
Right.
Congratulations.
And Andrew is anybody who is familiar with our council meetings and is a frequent participant and has done a fantastic job for the city. And so we're working on finalizing what that new, we haven't had a community development director. It's kind of been me. And so it'll be nice to have a real community development director, and we're working on figuring out exactly what that job description and what those responsibilities, and we're finalizing all that, but we got him on board, and hopefully we'll have Andrew's services to help lead the city of Sheridan for years to come. So congrats, Andrew. That's it, Mayor. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Lots of good news in there. Anybody have any questions for our city manager? No? Okay, Chief, what's up with you?
Just one small announcement. So we're going to be having our next multicultural Sheridan Police Department Citizens Academy. That's coming up March 14th, 15th, and 16th. We're working with primarily right now our Spanish speaking community, but we are open to others joining. And if we have big demand for that, we'll get someone to also work on that. So I want the city council to know so that we can start getting that information out. So as soon as we finalize all the details, I'll get that out so we can share it with our community. So that's it tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 23rd, 2023. Have a motion from Councilmember Kelly, a second from Councilmember Daigle. Any discussion on the minutes? We can have a vote then. Motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have the consent agenda. Authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from January 16th, 2023 to January 31st, 2023 in the amount of $593,523.63 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds. I have a motion from Councilmember Hall and a second from Councilmember Stang. Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, let's vote then. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have resolutions. We have resolution number 6 of 2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Sheridan and the City of Englewood for the provision of Sustainability Coordinator Program Management Services. Do you want to give us a little background on that one?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. Thank you. So this is an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Sheridan and City of Englewood, where we will be sharing the services of a staff member who would be dedicated towards sustainability programs for both cities. And sustainability programs are programs that center around economics, environmental, and equity issues that are really kind of what it says. What do we need to do in our community to make it sustainable, to keep it functioning and ongoing and thriving as it moves forward? So that can involve a lot of different things, as you can imagine. And so we're really happy to be able to partner with the City of Englewood in getting the services of this staff person. And I'll tell you, her name is Mel, and she is fantastic. And she's going to be doing wonders for us. So she's working 1 day a week for us. And then, well, it's might not be just quite 1 day, but a certain number of hours for us, and then a certain number of hours for the City of Englewood. Our total amount will be $15,000 a year for her services. This will be a 3-year agreement, so it's capped at $45,000 over the 3-year agreement. And then if we look at moving forward after that, we can consider what that looks like as we move forward, if we need to renew the IGA or make any changes at that time. Mel, as you might have already realized, you were getting emails from her. So she's already started and hit the ground running and fit in really well here so far with the City of Sheridan. Again, we're really excited to have her here. And I think it's fantastic that we'll have a position again where we can coordinate with Englewood on a lot of these sustainability issues, because a lot of these sustainability issues doesn't really care where the border of your city is, right? It's larger types of issues with regards to environment and economics and things like that that go way beyond borders. So it'll be nice to have this opportunity to have a person that knows both Englewood and Sheridan. How can we work together as cities to address these issues? So that's what you have in front of you tonight, Council, is an IGA for that recommended approval.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or discussion? We have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second from Councilmember Daigle. So if there are no other questions, we can vote on that. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have resolution number 7 of 2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan approving an agreement for crisis intervention services between the City of Sheridan and All Health Network. Either of you want to give any comments on this one before we?
We both might. So I just want to frame it for folks. So this is, we heard, I alluded earlier to our co-responder program, and the chief can talk about the success we've had with that. But this is where we have behavioral health and mental health professionals that respond with our police officers to certain types of calls. So it could be a domestic violence, it could be other things, where you have somebody that's possibly in distress, either behaviorally, they might be having some mental issues. They need somebody to talk to, or they need somebody to help them that's trained along this. And lots of times our officers aren't necessarily trained in some of the issues that these people are having to work through. So this is our third year of this program of working with All Health Network. They provide the personnel that to the co-responder program. They also have some in this agreement. There's some management oversight, some things around like supervision and case management times. Anyway, the program, and we've talked about this, council knows because we talked about this in the budget, and we put the money aside in the budget for the expansion of this program. And I think we budgeted 60,000, and the cost that you have here is 59,459 and 5 cents. So pretty good job of budgeting there. It will be covered. And again, I think we recommend it, but I'll turn it over to the chief if you wanted to say anything else about the program. Or
Just to talk a little bit about the success that we have. Our co-responder is vital to our operations now. This is an opportunity to have someone that is trained in mental health conditions that the police we get a small dose of that, right? But we don't go to at least 4 years, 6 years, 8 years of college for it. So having someone else ride around in the car with us, this is one of those programs where we want to continue to adopt so that we don't have to respond to everything as a police officer. We can send the services out. So what we do is we send our all health worker with an officer. The officer rides around, we take calls. If there's any call that may have a touch of mental health problems, or sometimes she just shows up with us on calls and it turns out we can use her services here. But it allows her to be the front person. And once everything is settled and we know that there's no danger, the police officers can step back, making sure that she is still safe, and allow her to work the magic that she can do. It really pays off, especially with a lot of our homeless personnel. Sometimes they're experiencing some mental health issues, and we have services, and we will immediately give them services. But it helps when someone's not in uniform and they're able to see someone else and see us step back. So we are very high on the program. We thank City Council for continuing to support us with that issue. And as we're talking, we'll have another program that we're partnering with the other cities that will help us in this as well. But just wanted to mention that for City Council. I know you're very well what we do with that, but thank you. And for those in attendance, make sure that they understand that we are being progressive, doing all we can to handle and help all the different individuals in our city. So thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. This is one of our, to me, it's one of my favorite programs we have. I think it's been just to be able to give people in crisis another option, you know, that the police can't necessarily handle that kind of situation. So I think it's an amazing program. So I'm glad to see that we're going to expand it, and I'm glad to hear there might be opportunity to expand it even further in the future. Did you want to
I do.
comment?
We often think of either homeless being in crisis or someone actually being in a mental crisis. But I had the opportunity, my neighbor was being notified that her husband had passed, and she, our health worker was there, and she was just so very kind and gracious and really, really helped my neighbor. But then also has called like 3 different times in the last month to call and check on her and to make sure that she is doing okay and that everything is still, okay for her. And if she needs any assistance doing, anything, death certificate, that kind of thing. And it was really kind of, I'd not been able, I'd never seen her at work. And I happened to be the person that my neighbor called because I could get there fast to be with her. And so I got to see it in action and it was pretty impressive. As a nurse, I was very, very impressed. So it's a great program.
Thanks. Anybody else have any comments? We have a motion from Councilmember Daigle, a second from Councilmember Kelly. So I think we'll vote now. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have Resolution 8 of 2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan approving an economic incentive agreement pertaining to the Bonsai Apartments development project. We need any other explanation? I think we've got a pretty thorough one at the work session. But
I don't think so. It was the item that we covered during our work session. I'd be happy to answer any further questions. I know that Josh is still here, Andrew is still here, and they're the experts on that. So if they had any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. But for anybody who wasn't here, this is an economic development incentive agreement that will help an affordable builder to do a redevelopment project for affordable housing here in Sheridan, 149 units. And the city is approving a package of fee waivers and tax reimbursements to assist with that project.
thank you. Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Daigle, second by Councilmember Kelly. We can go ahead and vote. The motion is approved unanimously. Next tonight, we have Mayor's Choice. We just have a few items. I just also wanted to encourage everyone to take the survey about sustainability. I did mine. It's not too complicated. It's really kind of free form. So whatever ideas you might have about what that program should look like for Sheridan, there's somewhere in there for you to put those. And, to connect them back to our goals or just free form, kind of whatever you're thinking about. She made it pretty straightforward. So, but I think it's a well-crafted survey. I think you'll find it pretty simple to complete. Secondly, I wanted to bring up that in the Can-Do meeting on Friday, Jim Taylor mentioned that the South Suburban Parks and Recreation District has 2 openings at the May election. So I just wanted to encourage, if you know anyone in the Sheridan community who might want to run for one of those positions, I think that would be a benefit to us. Jim Taylor has been a voice for Sheridan for as long as he's been on that board. He has a heart for Sheridan. So I would love for someone from our community to get on there since he's term limited. So think about that. And, if all the information's online about that election, the forms to get on the ballot. Also, last thing, at the Sheridan Celebrates Committee meeting last week, we picked our fundraiser partner for this year. So Sheridan Celebrates will be fundraising for the Alice Terry soccer program this year. So that'll be fun. They Sheridan Rising was gracious enough to donate $4,000 for this year to kick off that program. And so Sheridan Celebrates is going to try to even surpass that for next year and try to have a year, school year long program for Alice Terry. So I'll be hitting all of you up for donations before too long. All right, council member's choice. Who wants to speak?
First of all, it's great to see so many people here again and the support. I can feel it. It's really just great that everybody chose to do this with their time tonight. My name is Jay Whitaker, council member, Ward 2. And I've been thinking a lot about the First Amendment and our moral compass. Our First Amendment rights are freedom to speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and freedom to petition. what I keep coming back to, are there any boundaries? What are the boundaries of First Amendment rights? Without question, the First Amendment has health and safety limitations. Are the freedoms of our First Amendment rights penetrable? Well, at some point, morality violates liberty. Do those freedoms override individual rights? Well, at some point, freedom of speech violates morality. The Constitution, the foundation of our country, establishes a baseline for us to follow. Morality is the determining factor. Where do you sit on the moral compass? Where can you have liberty and morality at the same time? The founding fathers believed we would always have a moral compass to guide us through these discussions. And in the spirit of our founding fathers, let's have free speech, let's have morality, let's keep the government in check while also maintaining decorum, and let's keep from imposing individual freedoms on other people's rights to freedom.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other council members who'd like to speak tonight?
All I know is y'all better eat that pizza.
Please get some pizza.
Get that pizza. I told you I was gonna bring it. I'm a man of my word. I say I'm gonna bring some pizza. I'm gonna bring some pizza. I couldn't bring no whiskey, but we got the pizza.
Right.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move into public comment, which shall not exceed 30 minutes. I have my list of people who have signed up who are here today. We'll start off with, actually I didn't put, we have 3 minutes per speaker. And the first person up is Free American, if you can come to the podium.
Hi there. Thanks for those words, Mr. Whitaker. Mayor, when I first was here and you walked in, I said hello to you. Remember that? And you completely ignored me, acted like I didn't exist. That was rude, man. But just to reiterate a little bit of what Mr. Whitaker says about the founders of this country and the liberties that a lot of us take for granted. This country was founded on questioning authority. Okay, if we didn't question authority, we would still be under a tyrannical English rule, right? So questioning authority is the most American thing that you can do. Okay. But I was actually reading this discovery here on my case, and really, it just upsets me every time I read it because the only thing that is actually accurate in here is my name and date of birth. So every single police officer, Martinez, Conley, all of them, they all lied on their police statements, their police reports. Every public employee lied. I think that they were coached into saying what they wanted to say by Martinez. But they all said that they were fearful to come to work and that we were posting personal addresses and phone numbers. I've never done that, Martinez. I've never posted your or Connolly's personal phone number or addresses. I don't even know where you live. I would never do that. They're saying that they're getting death threats, stuff like that, which I don't condone. They're saying that my followers are inciting violence on the public employees. I don't tell my followers to do anything like that. We do not condone that, but we get our lives threatened too. We were actually told that if we show up here that we're going to be executed in the parking lot. So we appreciate you guys bringing in some extra security tonight. But let's see what else we got. Actually, let's just jump right to the good stuff. We actually have some impact statements, some victim impact statements from all the police officers, because they're victims of us exercising our rights and recording peacefully, by the way. A lot of the people said that we were here to block windows and we were impeding people from conducting business. Well, we were here peacefully for business. We weren't here to do anything of the sort. But Martinez, he said,
Excuse me.
the actions
we'll
of
keep order
myself
here.
and Benson, the actions of myself and Benson could have dire consequences, and their actions must be curtailed before a deadly encounter is unnecessarily forced on officers. A deadly encounter, Martinez? You are saying that you are going to have to use a deadly encounter on us? It's right here, man. This is what you wrote. For us exercising rights? Can't believe that.
Excuse me. Nothing from the audience, please. Your time-
Martinez.
Your time is up, sir. Next night, we have Pete Mitchell.
So as you could probably tell, I gave a different name last time. I gave a different name when I spoke online. For anybody that was here last week, yes, I was one of the people that spoke to you through that TV screen that night. I've never once lied to any of you. The only person on this board that I see that has the slightest thing that resembles a backbone, and he's showing it more and more and more, and I love it, is Mr. Whitaker. He's the only one that's standing up for the people. You were elected to help the people. You don't answer to these two, they answer to you. You need to take care of the situations that they're causing. It's funny that Mr. Whitaker brought up the First Amendment. So you have a policy in place, put in place by Cranberry or Granberry, whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's.
Excuse me.
let's
No
keep
comments
it-
from the
let's keep
audience.
it Cool.
I'm serious.
You
Everybody
have a
gets their
policy
time.
put in place by him that violates the First Amendment and free press. And you're doing absolutely nothing about it. That is why everyone's so upset, is because he put a policy in place and then had 5 people who were peaceably protesting against that policy. They were here to get FOIA request forms and to fill them out for information that they wanted. And you had officers come in and arrest them for that. One of your officers, in violation of Colorado state law, Mr. Bruce Williams, choked one of the protesters. Chokeholds are illegal by CRS, but don't worry, I've already forwarded that information to the Attorney General along with the accompanying video. We'll make sure that that's taken care of. But I'm here to tell you, I will be at every single one of these meetings until that policy comes down. I will not back down. I will come here every single meeting, and you will hear me every single meeting. He says it's because we don't have the right to film people or the people that work here in the course of their duties. Well, I got news for you. The First Circuit already said, yes, we do have that ability. You have no expectation of privacy in public. Just like I can't tell you to shut that camera off right now. I'm at a public meeting. I have no expectation of privacy in public. The only privacy I have is the privacy I create by not giving you my real name. And he can have his officers go out and run my plates all he wants. Won't come back to me.
All right. We need to ask everyone in the audience, please don't shout out when it's not your turn. If we have time, you'll have time to come up to the microphone. You can make your comments then. Okay, next we'll have Indira Guzman.
Hello, my name is Indira Guzman. I live at 4193 South Decatur Street. And I want to speak in the language of my heart. So I wanted to see if we could turn on interpretation. And I'm going to ask the interpreter to pause for me to say something and then for her to repeat it after me. So I may need a little bit more time, just so it doesn't overlap. See? Okay. Primero quería dar gracias por este. Ok. Quería también mostrar cómo se puede dar la interpretación. Gisela, can you wait for me for a second so I could speak first? Okay. Quería mostrar cómo se puede dar la interpretación y honrar a la persona que está hablando y escuchar la interpretación también. Okay, go. Y también quería agradecer por la resolución 7 del 2023. Esta semana tuve un encuentro con mi hijo y tuve que llamar a la policía. Tuve un problema con mi hijo y tuve que llamar a la policía. Y me conectaron con All Health Network y ya estamos en servicios y es mejor pensar que los servicios que mi hijo está recibiendo van a ayudarle más que si estuviera en la cárcel o en un problema grave. Y estoy también agradecida por la resolución de los nuevos apartamentos que van a abrir aquí. Me emociona ver que ya está la construcción, que ya están limpiando el área. Y también estoy agradecida por la nueva academia que van a hacer con la policía que mencionó Chief Martínez. Creo que fue el año pasado, tuve la oportunidad de interpretar en ese evento y yo aprendí mucho de mi comunidad y cómo funciona el departamento de policía. Y eso era lo que quería decir. Quiero agradecer a nuestro Consejo Municipal por todo el trabajo que hacen. Se muestra en nuestra comunidad, hay más reflexión de gente como como latinos, en gente de color que está representando a nuestra comunidad y agradezco eso. Y eso es todo. Gracias.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sheridan Gallegos.
Hello, Council. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I just wanted to come up and let you all know how much Shabib Gallegos, 3788 South Knox Court. I just wanted to thank you all for the work that you've done on resolution number 7. I want to thank Police Chief Martinez for continuing to advocate for the co-responders in Sheridan. I know I work in the mental health field and I know what an important impact it has in our community. And so I appreciate you all continuing to fund and just hear out what the importance is in every situation where they could benefit. And so I wanted to thank you for considering it and for funding it and all the work that you all continue to do as a city. From the city manager, Devin, I thank you just for continuing to listen in and figure out where there's opportunities for the city to be able to engage and in that work. And so I thank you all for the work that you're doing with that for resolution number 7. I also just wanted to thank you for all the work that you all continue to do with Sheridan Inspire and the GoCo funding. My daughter and I had the
Let me do a
opportunity
reverse
to go
really
ice
quick.
My daughter and I had the opportunity to go ice skating the other day, and it's something that we wouldn't have done. And we're really looking forward to being able to go camping next week in, I don't remember where we're going, but somewhere really exciting that I've never been before. And I probably wouldn't go if it wasn't for the opportunity that you all have partnered with that kind of funding for. So I just wanted to thank you again for the research that you all put into making sure that we have opportunities as families here in Sheridan to be able to do great things outdoors and just continue to be able to experience wonderful opportunities with my daughter. And yeah. Thank you all. You're great.
Thank you.
We have Nellie Lyman.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Nellie Lyman, 3727 South Green Court. And I also want to speak on the language of my heart. Whenever they're ready. Can I just go? Okay. Buenas noches otra vez. Me da mucho gusto verlos a todos. Sé que los veo durante la semana en algunas meetings o juntas, pero me da mucho gusto verlas otra vez. Y también quería venir aquí a dar, bueno, yo trabajo para una organización que está muy conectada aquí con la comunidad de Sheridan. De hecho, casi todos nuestros miembros de la organización viven aquí en Sheridan, tienen sus hijos en estas escuelas. Y me gusta traer las buenas noticias, las cosas que escuchamos de parte de ellos, de lo que está sucediendo en la ciudad. Una de esas cosas buenas que está pasando en la ciudad es el proyecto de Bonsai. Muchas familias que están súper emocionadas con ese proyecto porque ya se están viendo allá dentro de esos apartamentos. Lo que es muy, nos entusiasma mucho que hayan traído ese proyecto, se les agradecemos mucho que hayan hecho eso por la comunidad y por Sheridan. Otra de las cosas también que mencionan mucho y que esto crea un sentido de pertenencia para los miembros de toda la comunidad en Sheridan. Los eventos que están pudiendo hacer aquí en Sheridan. Por ejemplo, el que acaba de mencionar el Mayor Tara, que es lo de Sheridan Celebrates. De Sheridan Celebrates, que eso atrae a toda la comunidad de Sheridan, a todos los miembros de Sheridan, a que se conozcan unos a otros. Por eso somos una comunidad pequeña y súper unida por todas esas oportunidades que nos dan ustedes de estar juntos. Y gracias también a otro programa de la academia. Gracias, Chief Martínez, porque eso nos ha hecho tener mucha confianza en todos ustedes. Sabemos que están haciendo un trabajo espectacular y muchas gracias por estar aquí representándonos y por estar tan unidos a la comunidad de Sheridan.
Thank you.
So bring up Janine Martinez. No? I don't know if we should pass off from one person on the list to another.
Is there a American Patriot PR anywhere on that list by chance?
No, not yet. So you take a seat, okay? All right, we'll move on to Troy Blair.
Hi, thanks for the time here. I
The
didn't
mic
think
up to your mouth. Right?
Is that how mics work?
Yeah.
So thanks for the time. I did not think that I would get emotional tonight. There's so many citizens of Sheridan coming out and speaking out, and I was worried I was going to be the only one coming here because there's no money involved in coming and saying thank you for what you've done. I really appreciate everything all of you have done. Thank you, all of you, especially you, Chief Martinez. Thank you so much for what you have done. All the programs are fantastic. The Sheridan Night Out really brings the community together, as does Sheridan Celebrates. The amount of work put into that. If people knew how very little money, next to no money, because there's so many volunteers involved in that, they would be shocked at the work that's gone into this. Other things that I've loved to thank the city for. I love the way that you've worked out the recycling. You've done the carrot instead of the stick. You make the recycling free, and that way it encourages people to do it. I think there could be a little more education for some people who don't know what things can be recycled and how to prepare those items before they're recycled. And there might even be some people out there who don't realize they could get an additional second can for free for recycling, that all of that's free. So I'd love to see more stuff like that. I'm really glad to hear about the sustainability programs. Those are fantastic. It's great forward thinking. We really appreciate that. Also, slide up here. I know you get probably nothing but complaints about photo radar, but I appreciate it. And there's just one weird trick I would love to tell people about that they probably don't realize that can help you fool the photo radar. And that is if you go the speed limit, it can't get you. I know it's a wild idea, but it really works because I haven't gotten a ticket somehow magically. But I would love to see more because I think when people see it on one side, they're like, oh, my side's clear, and you just see them speed up. It'd be great if there's a second one there so they'd realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't just race through a school zone while kids are trying to cross the street. So thank you so much for those. Please don't let negative comments get to you. Know who your citizens are. Know that don't let the charlatans get to you when you have sincere citizens who really care about what you do. Keep your armor up and know that people love you and they love what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thanks for saying so.
Next, we have Todd Van Sant.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Van Sant. I live at 3650 South Federal Boulevard. First off, I want to kind of show the difference between the people that you represent. Those are the people using their real names and their real addresses. They're not hiding behind pseudonyms or screen names. These are the people that appreciate you. As you hear, the people who live in your city, they love what you do. So don't let the people who don't live in your city, the people who don't even live in your state or your country, bring you down. Those are the people that are doing their best to get into between you guys and into you guys. I both live in the city of Sheridan and I work in the city of Sheridan. I'm an executive at a veterans organization here in the city of Sheridan. I'm a veteran. And I have fellow veterans with me in the room, and we support you. It's not all veterans that are against you. We do love what you do. We love that you represent us, and we take great pride in representing the city of Sheridan. So from the chief, the city manager, city clerk, all of you guys do a great service for us. We are the ones who elected you here. We are the only ones that can take you out of here. We love you. We respect you. Keep doing the good work that you're doing. That's all I have. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Clerk, how are you doing on time for a half hour? Okay, we'll call up Gary Bean.
Thank you for letting me address you guys tonight. I'm not a citizen of Sheridan, but I feel like I am. I work down here. I spend my hard-earned money down here. I have fun down here. We appreciate the safety that's in the area. Unfortunately, I don't live down here, but I appreciate all the safety, the equalism, what's the other word I'm looking for? sustainability of the city of Sheridan. You guys have supported my organizations down here. You supported the safety of the shoppers down here, the banking down here. I just wish maybe you could move up north a little bit. That may be to come. Chief, I really appreciate the job you have to do. You're got a tough job. You watch these videos on YouTube about, I got the right to film in public. Well, you do, but you don't have the right to impose upon the public worker in such a manner that they can't do their jobs. The city manager, I appreciate what you can do to get the other cities around you to work together. If we could all do that, I am sure that the communities that we live in, the fun that we have together would do nothing but grow, and there would be no hate among us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll call up C. Mike Hunt.
Really?
Is this your turn?
Go ahead,
Disparaging my
please.
name?
Excuse me, sir, you're using
Is
up
that
your
your
time.
name? Come on.
I would like to just give my general, I guess, just general comments. I like to hear things about the Constitution. I like to hear that there are veterans that are, here, and I myself am one, and that they, they have positive things to say. I will say this. Those who are around me might have seen this. This Pledge of Allegiance is the first time that I stood respectfully that I have not said the words of that, because I'm not going to make a pledge in front of people who I honestly believe it's lip service. It's casting pearls before swines. What I've seen of the attempt to silence the public, and the public is everyone here, not just the people that live in Sheridan. It's everyone. That's why it's not a Sheridan residents meeting. It's a public meeting. People who do business in Sheridan, the gentleman with the bonsai development, I don't know that he lives in Sheridan, but he's benefiting from the people who do business here, who pay taxes here, and who transit between the two, buying gas or other, making use of other public services. And when it appears to everyone that you're allowing a out of control police department and an out of control public or city manager to simply scroll words on the paper and have people arrested, I don't believe you are honoring your pledge to the Constitution. The only people, or I can name a few people who can write things down, and people are arrested, and they're in dictatorships around the world. Kim Jong-un. I can go on. That's not the way that things should operate here. The city of Sheridan should fulfill public records requests. They should follow the law, and whether by direct adherence to the law, or even if it's in the spirit of following the law, doing the best you can in the spirit of following the law. Like, look, I may not have to do this in a certain amount of time, or give them a little bit, give them exactly all these records, but I know that they want them, and there's no reason not to. So I'm going to follow the spirit of the law and give the record. I just don't see that. And that's because of that, I stood respectfully silent during the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm a 26-year military veteran, and that's the first time I've ever done that.
How are we doing on time? Okay, well, that's not enough for anyone else. So we're going to stop for tonight. We'll adjourn the meeting at 8:03 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for being here.